My name is Noreen, and at 29 years old, I thought I'd found the man I'd spend forever with. We had the venue booked, 200 guests invited, and my dress was hanging in the closet, waiting for the biggest day of my life. Then, 3 weeks before our wedding, my fiancé gave me an ultimatum that changed everything. Accept his ex-girlfriend into every corner of our marriage, or the wedding was off. I looked him dead in the eye and said one word, okay. He thought I was agreeing to his demands. He had no idea I meant okay to cancelling the wedding, and what I did next with that venue, that date, and those 200 guests made his jaw drop in front of everyone. Before I tell you how one simple word in front of 200 people turned everything around, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Smash that like button and subscribe, because what happened next at that venue is something nobody expected, especially him. I work as a marketing manager at a tech startup in Austin, Texas. I've always been independent, confident, and successful in my career. I owned a condo downtown, had great friends, and genuinely loved my life. I dated casually through my 20s, but never felt rushed to marry. I figured when the right person came along, I'd know. Then I met Derek at a friend's barbecue 2 years ago. He was 32, a software engineer with this easy charm that made everyone around him comfortable. We clicked instantly. He asked thoughtful questions about my work, made me laugh with stories about his terrible cooking attempts, and didn't try too hard to impress me. That authenticity felt refreshing. The first 6 months were incredible. Derek planned romantic dates, always remembered little details I mentioned in passing, and talked openly about wanting a future together. He supported my career ambitions, encouraged me to apply for the promotion I was nervous about, and celebrated with champagne when I got it. He seemed mature, emotionally available, and ready for a real partnership. 9 months ago, he proposed on a rooftop in downtown Austin. The sun was setting, the city lights were starting to twinkle, and he got down on one knee with a ring he'd clearly put thought into choosing. It wasn't the biggest diamond, but it was exactly my style. I said yes without hesitation. Wedding planning consumed the next several months in the best way possible. We set the date for June and booked this gorgeous, historic mansion with gardens and string lights. The guest list grew to 200 people, mostly friends and colleagues from both our lives. We split the costs evenly. My portion came to $35,000, which felt reasonable for the wedding I'd always imagined. I found my dress at a boutique in downtown Austin. Vintage lace fitted perfectly, made me feel like the best version of myself. We went to cake tastings and argued playfully about frosting flavours. Derek had strong opinions about everything from the napkin colours to the processional music. I loved that he was engaged in the process, that this mattered to him as much as it did to me. We still had separate apartments, but planned to buy a house together after the wedding. We talked about having kids in a few years, maybe 2 or 3. We discussed career goals and retirement dreams and where we wanted to travel. Everything felt aligned. Everything felt right. I envisioned an elegant garden ceremony, followed by a reception under those string lights, dancing with the people we loved most, starting our forever surrounded by support and joy. I felt certain I'd found my person, my partner, the one I'd build a life with. 3 months into our engagement, Derek invited me to dinner at his apartment. Nothing seemed unusual. We ate pasta he'd attempted to make from scratch, laughed about how he'd used way too much garlic, and settled on the couch with wine afterward. That's when he said he wanted to tell me about someone important from his past. I assumed he meant a mentor or family member I hadn't met yet. Instead, he told me about Amber, his ex-girlfriend from college. They'd dated for 3 years, he explained, and broke up 5 years ago when she moved to Seattle for a job opportunity. She was my best friend, he said, his voice nostalgic. We just wanted different things back then. Long distance seemed impossible. We were young, but she was really special to me. I asked why he was bringing this up now. That's when he told me Amber was moving back to Austin for work. He wanted to reconnect with her as friends. He hoped I'd understand. I felt a small knot form in my stomach, but I pushed it down. Secure people don't feel threatened by exes, I told myself. I trusted Derek. He'd never given me reason not to, so I said of course he could be friends with her. I wasn't the kind of person who got insecure about someone's past. Derek's face lit up. He thanked me, called me amazing, said he knew I'd understand. He seemed so relieved that I felt good about my response. Look at me being mature and confident, I thought. This is what healthy relationships look like. I did hope privately that this wouldn't become complicated, but I trusted Derek to maintain appropriate boundaries. I trusted him to prioritize our relationship. That trust would turn out to be wildly misplaced. 4 months before our wedding in February, Derek suggested we all meet for coffee. Just casual, he said, so you two can get to know each other. I agreed, figuring it was better to meet her than imagine some mysterious figure from his past. We met at a coffee shop downtown on a Saturday morning. Amber walked in wearing jeans and a sweater, her blonde hair in a ponytail, looking younger than her 30 years. She was petite and bubbly, immediately wrapping Derek in a hug that lasted several seconds too long. When she pulled back, she kept her hand on his arm. The conversation was awkward from the start. Every topic led back to remember when we stories. Remember when we drove to South Padre Island and got lost. Remember that terrible Chinese restaurant we loved. Remember when you surprised me for my birthday. Inside jokes. I couldn't possibly understand, peppered every exchange. Amber barely asked me any questions. When I mentioned my work in marketing, she said, "Oh, that's nice," and turned back to Derek. When Derek mentioned our wedding plans, she said, "I'm sure it'll be lovely," and launched into a story about a wedding they'd attended together in college. I sat there feeling like a third wheel at my own fiancé's coffee date. After an hour, I excused myself to use the restroom. When I came back, they were laughing at something on Derek's phone, heads close together, completely absorbed in their shared moment. On the drive home, Derek said that went well. "She really likes you." I wanted to ask if he'd noticed how she'd barely acknowledged my existence, but I didn't want to sound jealous or insecure, so I just said she seems nice. Over the next weeks, Derek started seeing Amber regularly. Coffee once a week turned into twice a week. Then he was helping her apartment hunt. Then he was helping her move furniture. His explanations were always reasonable. She doesn't know anyone else here. She needs help getting settled. It's just friend stuff. But I started to feel sidelined. When I suggested joining them for coffee, Derek said Amber was going through some stuff and needed friend time to vent. When I asked about grabbing dinner on a Tuesday, he said he'd already made plans to help Amber look at apartments. The wedding was 2 months away, and my fiancé was spending more time with his ex than with me, but every time I felt uncomfortable, I reminded myself that mature people don't get jealous. Secure people trust their partners. I was being the cool girlfriend, the understanding fiancé, the woman who didn't make demands. I was also being an idiot, but I didn't know that yet. April arrived, bringing us to 8 weeks before the wedding. Amber's presence in our lives had become constant. Derek's phone buzzed incessantly with her texts. During dinner dates, he'd check his messages and say, "Just Amber," or "She's having a hard time adjusting." During movie nights at my place, his attention was divided between the screen and his phone. Then came the incident that should have been my first real wake-up call. We had an appointment for a final cake tasting, something we'd scheduled weeks in advance. I'd taken the afternoon off work. I arrived at the bakery at 2 o'clock and waited. And waited. At 2:30, Derek called. "Babe, I'm so sorry. Amber's car broke down on the highway. I had to go pick her up and take her to the mechanic. Can we reschedule? I sat in that bakery apologizing to the pastry chef who'd prepared samples for us, feeling humiliated and angry. But when I called Derek back to say this wasn't okay, he sounded stressed and defensive. What was I supposed to do? Leave her stranded? You're being unreasonable. I rescheduled the tasting. I swallowed my frustration. I told myself emergencies happen. 2 weeks later, I had my company's annual dinner. It was a formal event at a nice restaurant. Partners invited, a chance for the executives to meet significant others. Derek knew about it for months. He promised he'd be there at 7 o'clock sharp. 7 came and went. 7:15, 7:30. My colleagues kept asking where my fiancé was, their smiles turning sympathetic as I made excuses. He's just running late. Traffic, probably. He'll be here any minute. Derek walked in at 8:15. The appetizers were finished. Everyone had already made small talk with everyone else's partners. I'd been sitting there alone, smiling through my embarrassment, pretending everything was fine. "I'm so sorry," he whispered, sliding into the chair next to me. Amber needed help assembling furniture at her new apartment. It took longer than I thought. You were helping your ex build furniture while I sat here alone at my work event. She needed help. What was I supposed to do? You understand, right? That phrase. You understand, right? I heard it constantly. You're so understanding. You're not like other women who get jealous. You're mature enough to handle this. I was starting to hate that phrase. But I smiled and nodded because causing a scene at my company dinner seemed worse than swallowing my hurt. The pattern was clear now. Amber's needs always came before mine. Derek always expected me to understand, to be flexible, to put her comfort above my own feelings, and I kept complying because I didn't want to be the jealous fiancé, the insecure woman, the controlling partner. Then, in late April, Derek brought up something that made my blood run cold. We were at his apartment, folding laundry together in that domestic way couples do. He cleared his throat nervously. "I've been thinking about the wedding party," he said. "We'd already chosen our attendance months ago. My sister was my maid of honor. His brother was his best man. What was there to think about? Amber mentioned she'd love to be involved somehow. Maybe as a bridesmaid." I stopped folding the towel in my hands. I stared at him. "You want your ex-girlfriend in our wedding party? She's my friend now. It would mean a lot to her." "I barely know her, Derek." "The answer is absolutely not." His face fell. "I thought you were more secure than this." There it was again. The implication that my boundaries meant I was insecure, that not wanting his ex-girlfriend standing beside me at my own wedding was somehow a character flaw. This isn't about insecurity, it's about appropriate boundaries. She's not going to be in our wedding party. Derek went quiet for the rest of the evening. He sulked, making me feel guilty for having a completely reasonable boundary. As I was leaving, he said, "I just wish my fiancé could accept the important people in my life." I drove home with my hands clenched on the steering wheel, questioning everything. Was I being unreasonable? Was I letting jealousy cloud my judgment? Or was Derek pushing me past any normal person's comfort zone? Early May brought my bridal shower exactly 1 month before the wedding. My best friend Jade hosted it at a beautiful restaurant. 30 women came, friends from work, from college, family members, all gathering to celebrate the bride. I was opening gifts, laughing at kitchen gadgets I'd never use, and lingerie that made my grandmother blush when the restaurant door opened. Amber walked in carrying a wrapped box and a bright smile. "I hope it's okay I came," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Derek told me about the shower. I couldn't miss celebrating you." Every head turned to look at me. I couldn't make a scene. I couldn't tell her to leave in front of 30 witnesses. So I smiled and said, "Of course, so glad you could make it." She sat down right next to me, where my sister had been sitting. My sister moved over with a confused expression, and Amber settled in like she belonged there. As I continued opening gifts, Amber provided commentary. "Oh, those wine glasses are nice. Derek and I had similar ones in our first apartment. That cutting board is gorgeous. Derek loves to cook, you know. Well, he tries. When we dated, he could barely boil water. Then came the moment that made my skin crawl. I opened a gift box containing beautiful stationery. Amber laughed and said he always loved grand gestures. When he proposed to me in college, he wrote this long letter about our future together. It was so romantic. The room went silent. Every single woman stared at Amber, then at me, then back at Amber. My sister's mouth fell open. Jade looked ready to leap across the table. Proposed, I said, my voice carefully controlled. Derek proposed to you. Amber's eyes widened, like she'd just realized she'd said something wrong. Oh, he didn't tell you. Yeah, we were engaged for like 6 months our senior year. We were so young and dumb. Obviously, it didn't work out. I set down the stationery carefully. Well, I said, forcing brightness into my voice. Good thing you both figured that out before making a mistake, right? Let's keep going with gifts. The shower continued, but the energy was ruined. After everyone left, Jade pulled me aside in the parking lot. Why was she here? And why was she talking about Derek proposing to her? Did you know about that? I had no idea. He never mentioned being engaged before. Jade's face was furious. This is insane. She deliberately came here to stake some kind of claim. And Derek gave her the details of your bridal shower. What is wrong with him? I drove home in a daze. Derek had been engaged before, to Amber, and he'd never thought to mention it. Not when we got engaged, not when Amber moved back to Austin, not when he started spending all his time with her. That evening I called him. Did you propose to Amber in college? There was a pause. Oh, yeah, we were really young. It didn't mean anything. You never told me you'd been engaged before. It was a decade ago. Why does it matter? It matters because you're pushing your ex-fiancé into every corner of our wedding and our life. And you never even told me you almost married her once before. Here we go again with the jealousy. His voice was sharp now. Can't you just be happy for me that I have a good friend? Why do you have to make everything about you every time? Every single time I raised a concern, Derek turned it around, made me the problem, made me the jealous one, the insecure one, the unreasonable one. I hung up feeling crazy, like maybe I was overreacting, like maybe I was the villain in this story. 3 weeks before the wedding, Derek called and said we needed to have an important conversation, face to face. His tone was serious enough that I agreed immediately. I thought maybe he'd finally recognized how out of control this situation had become. I thought maybe he'd apologize, set better boundaries, recommit to our relationship. I had no idea he was about to give me an ultimatum that would change everything. I arrived at Derek's apartment on a Friday evening, May 15th. He had wine poured, the lighting dimmed, everything set up like he was about to propose again. Instead, he sat me down on his couch and took my hands. We need to talk about Amber and the wedding, he said. Relief washed over me. Finally, he was going to address this. He was going to fix it. Amber is going to be part of our lives, he continued, and I need you to accept that. My relief evaporated. What do you mean, part of our lives? Derek launched into what was clearly a prepared speech. He'd thought about this, planned it out. That made it worse somehow. Amber is alone in Austin. We're her only real friends here. I think we should have weekly dinners together, the three of us. Maybe game nights. Include her in holiday celebrations. Make her feel like family. I stared at him. You want your ex-girlfriend at weekly dinners, at our holidays? Married couples have couple friends all the time, he said, like this was completely normal. But she's not part of a couple. She's your ex-fiancé. He waved his hand dismissively. She's my friend who happens to be my ex. I need you to stop making that distinction. The conversation got worse. He wanted Amber at the wedding, sitting in the family section with his parents. He wanted her included in discussions about our honeymoon. Wait, I interrupted. Our honeymoon. She knows Hawaii really well. I thought we could get her input on which islands to visit, where to stay. You want your ex helping plan our honeymoon. Why are you making this so difficult? His frustration was showing now. Amber's been through a lot. bad breakup in Seattle, moving back here alone. She needs support. There it was. Poor Amber, struggling Amber, Amber who needed rescuing. And Derek the hero ready to sacrifice his relationship to save her. I tried to compromise. I'm okay with you being friends, but weekly dinners and holiday celebrations and honeymoon planning is too much. That's not good enough. His voice was firm now. I need full acceptance. I need to know that my future wife will support my friendships. The word need stood out, not want. Need. This was non-negotiable to him. Derek, this is unreasonable. You're asking me to center our entire marriage around your ex. He stood up, pacing now. I can't marry someone who won't support the important people in my life. I need to know you'll accept Amber as part of our family. The room felt smaller suddenly, the air thicker. I looked at this man I'd planned to marry in 3 weeks. This man who was threatening our wedding over his ex-girlfriend. Accept Amber into every aspect of our marriage, he said, turning to face me, or the wedding is off. Silence filled the apartment. The refrigerator hummed. A car passed outside. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it. I need an answer now, Derek pressed. We're 3 weeks out. I need to know if you're the woman I thought you were, the woman he thought I was, the understanding one, the one who didn't make demands, the one who accepted whatever he asked without question. Something shifted inside me in that moment, a clarity I hadn't felt in months. I saw our future spread out before me, years of competing with Amber, years of being called insecure when I objected, years of coming second to his ex-girlfriend. Derek stood there looking confident, certain I'd cave. I'd caved every other time. Okay, I said. His face relaxed. Okay, you'll accept her no. Okay, the wedding is off. I watched the colour drain from his face. What? You gave me an ultimatum. Accept your ex or lose you. So I choose to lose you. The wedding is off. Wait. His confidence crumbled instantly. You're not serious. I'm completely serious. We're done. Noreen, don't be dramatic. Let's talk about this. I stood up, grabbed my purse. There's nothing to talk about. You made your choice. You chose her over me. Now I'm choosing myself over you. You're throwing away our whole relationship over this. No, you did that when you gave me that ultimatum. I walked toward the door. He followed me, panic in his voice now. You're making a huge mistake. You're going to regret this. I turned to look at him one last time. The only mistake I made was not seeing this sooner. Goodbye, Derek. I walked out, got in my car, sat in the driver's seat with my hands shaking. Then I started laughing, not happy laughter, shocked, disbelieving laughter that I'd almost married that man. I called Jade. The wedding's off. I need help. She was at my condo within 20 minutes carrying wine and ice cream. I told her everything while she held me as I cried. Not because I missed Derek, because I'd wasted 2 years, because I'd ignored so many red flags, because I'd almost legally bound myself to someone who valued his ex over me. The next morning I woke to 57 text messages from Derek. The progression was predictable. I'm sorry. You overreacted. Amber means nothing. You're being childish. Please call me. We can work this out. You're making a mistake. I blocked his number. Then I started the work of cancelling a wedding 3 weeks out. The venue was non-refundable. $10,000 gone. The photographer kept her $3,000 deposit. The caterer was within the cancellation window, thank goodness, so I got that money back. The florist kept $2,000. My dress hung in my closet, $1,500 of lace and broken dreams. Total financial loss over $16,000. But $16,000 to escape a toxic marriage felt like a bargain. The first week after the breakup, Derek launched a campaign to control the narrative. He called my parents, my friends, our mutual acquaintances. His story was consistent. Noreen had cold feet. She overreacted to a simple friendship. He was trying to save the relationship, but she refused to communicate. My mother called worried. Honey Derek called, very upset. He says you won't talk to him. What happened? I told her everything. The ultimatum, the demands about Amber, the ex-fiancé revelation. All of it. Oh, sweetheart. Her voice softened immediately. You did the right thing. That boy has some nerve. My father's response was even more direct. I never liked that guy. Something about him always seemed off. Glad you figured it out before the wedding. Friend responses were more divided. Some thought I'd overreacted. Most supported me wholeheartedly. Jade was furious on my behalf, calling Derek's behaviour manipulative and toxic. At work, colleagues asked awkward questions. I kept my explanations brief. The wedding's off. We wanted different things. I'm doing fine. I refused to badmouth Derek publicly, even though he clearly had no problem making me look unstable. Derek changed his relationship status on social media to single, posted vague messages about going through a tough time. His friends flooded the comments with support. Nobody knew his version was complete fiction. I didn't post anything, didn't engage, didn't try to tell my side publicly. I knew my truth. The people who mattered knew my truth. That was enough. 1 week after the breakup, Jade called with news that made my blood boil. You need to sit down for this. I was already sitting eating ice cream straight from the container. What is it? My coworker is from Seattle. She knows Amber. Okay. Amber didn't move back to Austin for work. She moved back specifically to get Derek back. The ice cream container slipped from my hands. What? She'd been planning it for months. Timed it perfectly to coincide with your wedding approaching. She told friends in Seattle she'd made a mistake letting Derek go. She was going to, quote, remind him what they had before he made a permanent mistake. I felt sick. This wasn't coincidental. This was calculated, strategic. Amber had deliberately set out to sabotage my wedding. There's more, Jade said. Amber told her Seattle friends she'd get him back within 6 months. She's been working on this since she first contacted him about moving. Did Derek know? Was he in on it that I don't know? Either he was complicit or he's the most oblivious man alive. Either way, it didn't matter. Either Derek deliberately helped his ex sabotage our relationship or he was too stupid to see he was being manipulated. Neither option made me want him back. All those coincidental moments suddenly made sense. Amber showing up at my bridal shower, her constant emergencies that pulled Derek away from me, the way she talked about their past relationship in front of me, all of it was designed to drive a wedge between us. And Derek had let her. Encouraged her, chosen her. Thank you for telling me, I said to Jade. This actually helps. Now I know I dodged a massive bullet. Week 2 brought Derek to my door. 11 o'clock at night, pounding on it hard enough to wake my neighbours. I checked the peephole and saw him swaying slightly. Noreen, please, we need to talk, his words slurred together. I'm calling security, I said through the door. Just talk to me for 5 minutes, please. I made a mistake. I choose you. I told Amber we can't be friends anymore. I want you back. The building security guard appeared in the hallway. Sir, you need to leave. Derek started yelling. She's my fiancé. We were supposed to get married. She's making a mistake. The security camera captured everything. Him yelling that I'd regret this, that nobody else would want me, that I was throwing away the best thing that ever happened to me. Security escorted him out. I watched on the camera feed as he stumbled to his car. The next day, I filed the footage away, just in case. Derek tried love bombing after that. Flowers delivered to my office with cards saying, I'm sorry I love you, please give me another chance. I threw them in the break room for my co-workers. Chocolates appeared at my doorstep. I donated them to the homeless shelter. The pattern was clear. Derek thought he could manipulate me back, apologize and promise change, then slowly revert to the same behavior once he had me locked down in marriage. 2 weeks post-breakup, I sat in my therapist's office processing everything. Dr. Chen had helped me through career stress before. Now, she helped me see Derek's behavior for what it was. This is classic manipulation, she explained. He made you question your own reasonable boundaries by calling them jealousy. He positioned himself as the victim when you objected to genuinely inappropriate behavior. He gave you an ultimatum designed to force compliance. I almost married him, but you didn't. You recognized the problem and chose yourself. That took courage. Sitting in that therapy session, I realized something. I'd lost $16,000 in deposits, but I'd gained something more valuable: self-respect, boundaries, the knowledge that I could trust my instincts. And then I had an idea, an absolutely wild, bold, possibly insane idea. The wedding venue was still reserved for June 12th. I'd paid for it. Those 200 guests had been invited. Most of them didn't know the wedding was cancelled yet because Derek and I hadn't made a public announcement. What if I still used that venue? Not for a wedding. For something better. I called Jade. I have an idea, and I need you to tell me if I'm crazy. I'm listening. What if I threw myself a freedom party? Same date, same venue. Celebrate dodging this bullet publicly. Jade was silent for exactly 3 seconds. That is the best idea I've ever heard. Let's do it. 10 days to plan a party for 200 people felt impossible, but Jade and I were determined. First, I called the historic mansion venue. I need to explain something I told the manager, a woman named Susan who'd been helping with wedding planning for months. I told her the whole story. The ex-girlfriend, the ultimatum, the cancelled wedding. When I finished, Susan was quiet for a moment. Then she started laughing. Honey, we've never done a freedom party before, but I absolutely love it. The venue's already paid for. Let's make it spectacular. The catering was trickier. I'd lost the deposit, but the full dinner service I'd originally booked was too expensive for what I wanted now. The caterer agreed to provide appetizers and drinks instead for $15,000. Still a lot of money, but I'd already mentally written off the wedding costs. Might as well use them for something meaningful. Jade's graphic designer friend created invitations in record time. The wording was perfect. You're invited to celebrate Noreen's freedom. June 12th, 7 p.m. Join me as I celebrate the best decision I ever made, calling off my wedding to the wrong man. We sent digital invitations to everyone on the original wedding guest list. My friends, my family, my colleagues, Derek's friends and family, everyone who would have watched me marry him. The responses came flooding in within hours. I'll be there. You're my hero. This is iconic. Can't wait to celebrate you. About 90% of the guest list accepted. Comments on the invitation included things like, "You're an inspiration, and I wish I'd had your courage and best use of a venue I've ever seen." The buzz spread quickly. People were talking about it, sharing screenshots. Within 24 hours, word reached Derek. A mutual friend forwarded me Derek's text, "Is this a joke? She's having a party on our wedding date." The friend wrote back, "Looks like she's celebrating her narrow escape." Derek tried calling from a different number. I didn't answer. He sent an email, a long, rambling message about how embarrassing this was for him, how I was being vindictive and petty, how if I went through with this party, everyone would see my true colours. I wrote back exactly one sentence. The truth is exactly what I'm celebrating escaping from. See you there if you're brave enough. He didn't respond, but through the grapevine, I heard he was furious. Amber was reportedly even angrier, telling people I was pathetic and bitter. I didn't care what either of them thought. This party wasn't about them. It was about me taking back my narrative. With 1 week to go, I went dress shopping again. Not for a wedding dress, for a freedom dress. I found it at a boutique downtown. Red bold with a fitted silhouette that made me feel powerful. Everything the white wedding dress wasn't. I booked the same hair and makeup artists I'd reserved for the wedding. When I explained the situation, they loved it. One of them said she'd done makeup for 3 weddings that should have been cancelled. She was thrilled to finally do makeup for a woman who'd been smart enough to walk away. Jade organised decorations with a freedom and new beginnings theme, no pastels, bold jewel tones, purple, gold, emerald green, everything vibrant and alive. We hired a DJ instead of the string quartet I'd originally booked. Upbeat music, dancing music, celebration music. The photo booth company I'd reserved thought the whole thing was hilarious. They created custom props, signs that said, "She said no way," and "Freedom looks good," and "Dodged that bullet." I designed a signature cocktail called The Upgrade, another one called Dodged That Bullet. The bartender loved coming up with the recipes. I prepared a speech to give at the party, nothing mean or bitter, just honest, thanking people for their support, explaining my decision, turning my pain into power. A local lifestyle blogger reached out asking if she could cover the event. I agreed. If this could help even one woman recognize red flags in her own relationship, it would be worth the public exposure. Guest excitement built daily. People were genuinely excited to celebrate with me. Friends I hadn't seen in years RSVP'd yes. Colleagues from work asked if they could bring their partners. This wasn't pity. This was genuine celebration. The day before the party, I felt nervous, but empowered. Jade came over to help me prep. "Tomorrow, you take back your narrative," she said. "Tomorrow, you show everyone that choosing yourself is something to celebrate." I wondered if Derek would actually show up. Part of me hoped he would. I wanted him to see me thriving, see me surrounded by people who loved and supported me. See me absolutely fine without him. I slept surprisingly well that night. Woke up refreshed and ready. June 12th. What should have been my wedding day? What was now my freedom day? The historic mansion looked absolutely stunning. String lights draped everywhere but arranged differently than the wedding plans. Bold coloured uplighting washed the walls in purples and golds. Tables scattered throughout the gardens, each with vibrant centerpieces. Music played through the sound system. Upbeat, empowering songs, the kind that make you want to dance. Guests started arriving at 7. People dressed up bringing gifts, even though I'd requested donations to a women's shelter instead. The energy was incredible. Not sad, not sympathetic, genuinely joyful. The photo booth was packed immediately, people laughing, posing with the props, taking silly pictures. The signature cocktails disappeared fast. Servers circulated with appetizers. I made my entrance at 7:30, walking down the main staircase in my red dress. The crowd erupted in applause and cheers. My friends whistled. My co-workers shouted encouragement. The support was overwhelming. I felt powerful, confident, free. For the first 30 minutes I mingled, hugged friends, thanked family, accepted congratulations that felt more genuine than any wedding congratulations would have been. Then, at 8 o'clock, there was a commotion at the entrance. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, heads turned, phones came out. Derek walked in, wearing a suit, probably the one he'd planned to wear to our wedding. Next to him, clinging to his arm with a smug expression, was Amber. My friends immediately circled around me, protective. Jade looked ready to physically throw them out. "Want me to call security?" she asked. "No, let them stay. This will be good." Derek pushed through the crowd toward me. The entire room went silent. Everyone watched. Multiple people had their phones out recording. "Noreen," he said loud enough for people nearby to hear. "We need to talk. This has gone far enough." I smiled calmly. "I'm in the middle of celebrating Derek. Can this wait? You're embarrassing both of us with this spectacle." Amber stepped forward, her voice dripping with false concern. "You're making yourself look desperate and pathetic." Gasps echoed around us. Someone muttered, "Did she just say that?" Another voice said, "Who even is she?" I maintained my composure. "Desperate. I'm celebrating the best decision I ever made." Derek's face reddened. Calling off our wedding was your best decision. No. I kept my voice clear and steady, saying okay when you told me to accept your ex-girlfriend into every aspect of our marriage or lose you. That was my best decision. More gasps. People who hadn't known the full story were learning it now. I decided to address everyone, not just Derek. I turned slightly so my voice would carry. Thank you all for coming tonight. 3 weeks ago, I was supposed to marry this man. Then he gave me an ultimatum. The crowd pressed closer, listening intently. He demanded I accept his ex-girlfriend. I gestured toward Amber into every corner of our marriage. Weekly dinners together, holiday celebrations, even helping plan our honeymoon. Shocked murmurs spread through the guests. I saw Derek's mother Susan in the crowd, her face horrified. When I said that was too much, he told me to accept it or the wedding was off. So I said, okay, the wedding is off. Thunderous applause erupted. People cheered. Some were crying. The support was incredible. Derek's face had gone pale. You're twisting everything. Amber is just a friend you were engaged to in college, a fact you never mentioned to me. More gasps. Even Derek's friends looked surprised. His mother pushed through the crowd. Derek, you were engaged before. You never told your father and me. Amber, looking uncomfortable, now spoke up. He proposed to me when we were 22. It was real. She'd just confirmed my story in front of 200 witnesses. I continued addressing the crowd. So tonight, we're celebrating boundaries, self-respect, the courage to walk away from something that looks right but feels wrong. The crowd cheered again. Derek made one last desperate attempt. Noreen, please, can we talk privately? Everything that needs to be said can be said right here. His anger broke through finally. You're vindictive and petty. This whole party is just to hurt me. This party isn't about you. It's about me choosing myself. I turned away from him, addressing my guests. To everyone here, thank you for supporting my journey, to knowing your worth, to setting boundaries, to freedom. 200 people raised their glasses. To freedom, Derek and Amber stood there completely out of place as the party continued around them. The venue manager, Susan, approached quietly with 2 security guards. I think it's time for you to leave, she said to Derek, politely but firmly. Derek looked around at the faces watching him, his friends, his family, all of them seeing him clearly for the first time. You'll regret this, he said, his voice weak now. I already don't, I replied. Security escorted them both out. As Derek passed me, I heard Amber hiss something at him. This is your fault. You said she'd never actually do it. They thought I'd cave. Right up until the end, they thought I'd back down. After they left, the energy in the room lifted even higher. Music got louder. People started dancing. I danced with my friends, laughed with my family, felt genuinely happy. The blogger covering the event got incredible photos. Me surrounded by supportive friends, the photo booth with all its funny props, the vibrant decorations, the joy on everyone's faces. Around 10 o'clock, I gave a proper speech. Thanked everyone for coming, talked about the importance of listening to your instincts, encouraged the women in attendance to never settle for less than they deserve. The party went until midnight. As people left, they hugged me, told me I was brave, said I'd inspired them. Several women quietly shared their own stories of walking away from wrong relationships. When the last guest left, I stood in that beautiful venue with Jade looking at the remnants of the best party I'd ever attended. We did it, Jade said, hugging me. We really did. I'd taken the worst moment of my life and transformed it into something empowering. I'd reclaimed my narrative, shown everyone that I wasn't broken, wasn't bitter, just free. I woke up the next morning to my phone exploding with notifications. The lifestyle blogger had posted her article overnight. Woman throws freedom party on cancelled wedding date. It had gone viral, shared thousands of times across social media. Comments flooded in from all over the country, all over the world, women sharing their own stories of calling off weddings, leaving toxic relationships, choosing themselves. Some comments criticized me, attention-seeking, should have handled this privately, making a spectacle of something painful. But most were overwhelmingly supportive. You're my hero. I wish I'd had your courage. This gave me the strength to leave my toxic relationship. Thank you for showing us it's okay to walk away. I didn't do it for attention. I did it for me. But if it helped other women, that was a beautiful, unintended consequence. Several podcasts reached out for interviews. I declined most, but agreed to one that focused specifically on recognizing relationship red flags and setting healthy boundaries. If I could help even one person avoid what I went through, it was worth the public exposure. Through mutual friends, I heard Derek and Amber's story. They tried dating after the party. Lasted exactly 6 weeks before an explosive breakup. Apparently, Derek couldn't handle Amber's jealousy and neediness. The irony was almost funny. He'd accused me of those exact traits. Amber moved back to Seattle within 3 months. Derek tried reaching out to me several times over the following months. Apologetic emails, texts from new numbers, even a handwritten letter delivered to my office. I never responded, not once. He was my past. I was focused on my future. The months after the Freedom Party were transformative. I continued therapy processing not just the relationship with Derek, but my patterns of people-pleasing and ignoring red flags. Dr. Chen helped me understand why I'd stayed so long, why I'd kept making excuses for inappropriate behavior. I threw myself into work and got a promotion to senior manager. My career flourished without the emotional drain of a toxic relationship pulling me down. I strengthened my friendships, especially with Jade, who'd stood by me through everything. We took a girls' trip to New York, something I'd never made time for when I was with Derek. I tried new hobbies, took a pottery class, started hiking on weekends, joined a book club, reconnected with parts of myself I'd lost, while trying to be the cool, understanding girlfriend. 9 months after the Freedom Party, I started dating again. Slowly, carefully, with much clearer boundaries. I met someone new at a work conference. His name was James. He was respectful, communicative, and when I mentioned I had a bad experience with an ex, he never pushed me to talk about it before I was ready. Our relationship developed slowly, healthily. He never made me feel like I had to compete for his attention, never made me question my worth, never called my boundaries jealousy or insecurity. When he mentioned staying friends with an ex from years ago, he proactively assured me they rarely spoke and offered complete transparency. He introduced me to her within weeks, in a group setting with no weird energy or hidden agendas. That's what healthy looked like. That's what respect looked like. Looking back now, I'm grateful for everything that happened with Derek. Grateful for the ultimatum. Grateful for the Freedom Party. Grateful for learning who I am and what I deserve. The wedding that didn't happen was the best thing that never happened to me. I thought I was losing my future that night in Derek's apartment, but I was actually finding it. I learned that family and friends who truly love you will support you when you choose yourself. I learned that public opinion doesn't matter when you know your truth. I learned that $16,000 is a small price to pay for freedom from a lifetime of being second choice. Most importantly, I learned that ultimatums reveal character. When someone says accept this unreasonable thing or lose me, the answer should always be, okay, I'll lose you. Because anyone who truly loves you would never make you choose between them and your self-respect. So let me ask you something. Have you ever had to choose between a relationship and your self-respect? What did you choose? How did it turn out? Drop your story in the comments below. I'd genuinely love to hear it. If this story resonated with you, if you've been in a similar situation or know someone who has hit that like button, subscribe to this channel for more stories about choosing yourself and recognizing your worth. And please share this with someone who needs to hear that they deserve better, that walking away is sometimes the bravest thing you can do. Thank you for listening to my journey. Thank you for celebrating freedom with me. Thank you for understanding that sometimes the best love story is the one where you fall in love with yourself. May you always choose partners who celebrate you, not those who give you ultimatums. May you trust your instincts when something feels wrong. May you have the courage to say, okay, when someone threatens to leave unless you diminish yourself. And may you always remember that you are worth more than being someone's second choice. Take care of yourselves, set those boundaries, protect your peace, and never, ever accept less than you deserve.